This is the place where sports opinions collide. Dead in Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth B. Inge. Joining me as usual is FIFO.
What it do, what it do, what it do.
And on the line is the sixth man, Q. What up, Q?
Everybody, what's going on?
Hey, man, you know what, Ken?
What's up?
I love my nickname, right?
Yeah?
But the sixth man is a really fucking dope nickname.
It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And he comes in the clutch just like a six-man would.
Yeah, nah, it's dope, man. It's kind of crazy how that worked out, and I just kind of branded his thing, man. Like, it just became his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's dope. So, yeah, tonight, man, we know we're a day or two late. We were in here last night to like 12:15. Recording. Is the mic still on? Check that out, man. The podcast is the mic still on podcast.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better each week. The response is crazy, which I'm loving. Check out the homie, the Manny. I keep calling him the Manny. The Technical File Podcast. Check him out. Also check out the homie 12 Cal, the 12 Cal Podcast, and Chris Platty's Strictly Hip Hop and Strictly Hoop Talk Podcast, and of course, man, Dead in Hip Hop. You got to check that out. Subscribe. And subscribe to, go on SoundCloud and hit that follow button. Trust me, you'll want to do that. Dead in Hip Hop. And Dead in Sports everywhere, man. Follow us on Twitter, social, all the socials. So, all right, man. Let's get into these trades. There were some trades. Let's get into the draft. The Lakers made some moves, and while I pull that up, Magic apparently has meeting with some folks about tampering, I guess, some people on his team. But the Los Angeles Lakers have made a trade for the 39th pick in this year's draft. They sent a 2019 second-round pick via the Bulls and cash consideration to the Sixers for the pick. So they're making moves. I don't know what all that means. In all honesty, but especially with everything that's going on with them, but maybe, I don't know.
It's a
39th pick, right?
Yeah. So that's the second round.
Yeah,
right. That's the ninth pick in the second round.
So something like maybe a role player if you have to use up all the cap space for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ken. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Somebody that can come in young, like a Kuzma. You know what I'm saying? That's ready to play right now. And obviously not be a star or anything like that, but be a cheap rotational player that can learn from the guys you're planning to bring in.
The Hawks are trying to move back from the third spot for Trae Young.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
You do?
Yeah. You know why? Because they messed up by not getting CP or Darren Williams. They can't
Trae
mess
Young
up
is
again.
not CP3?
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I think he's the biggest boomer bust potential in this draft. And because the Hawks have been in perpetual drought, you know what I'm saying? That you need a guy that if you hit it out the park, you hit it out the park. I think he's the one guy in the draft that if he can do his skill set in the NBA, it's gonna be a problem.
If he projects out to be Curry. Go ahead, Q.
You know what I think we should do, though? I think we should just do a lottery breakdown real quick. I think that's the easiest way for us to get into all the news and everything that's been going on. Just go by the 13 teams, talk about what you think will happen. Because the other picks don't really matter. It's just what the lottery is what everybody's interested in.
Yeah, I got you. Let me go through one other report that's out here. Is that the Knicks are considering moving up to get Bamba. So I think
I like that move too.
I do too.
Because you pair him with Porzingis, you talking about the biggest front line in the NBA. And both of those guys rebound. They crash the offensive glass. Bamba has shown that he does have range. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm not looking for that, for him to have a successful rookie year. But if he can also provide that, I'll take it. But is Porzingis going to play this year? Because I think there has been some chatter about him taking this entire year off, like DeMarcus.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have heard something similar, But, if you believe in Nicolina as your point guard, that's the guy they drafted last year. We go 3 to 5, right? So we didn't see much this year, but he was.
It's possible that he becomes something.
He could, but if you believe in him, you got your point guard. If you believe you can get Kyrie next year, right? So you don't really need to invest that heavily into the 1 or the 2. So you already got Porzingis, that's your superstar. So get Bamba, be that anchor. He can be a stretch 5, and he can block shots. He's athletic. So I think that would be a smart move for them. And then now they got some pieces they can kind of start building around. So
they're trying to tank, man.
Because you know what? Look, you gonna need
Bamba?
The Knicks are trying to tank, man. That's all it is.
Okay.
I don't blame them.
You look in the NBA. If you're in the East, you're gonna need somebody that can physically compete with Joel Embiid. Because if you ain't got one, you ain't gonna beat him. It's just. But the best landing spot for Bamba, to me, is Boston. So if they can't pull off a Kawhi move, they need to go make a Bamba move.
Yeah,
they do.
Man, I can't wait till we get to talk about him because,
So I'm trying to find what's the best mock draft? I thought I had one up here. I'm looking for it. Where is it? Bleacher Report had one, but I think they.
Bleacher Report has a good one. I don't mind them. The Ringer has a good one also.
Yeah, I guess so.
The Ringer is pretty good. Them and Draft Express because they're with ESPN now. So.
Yeah, I think I like theirs a little bit better, but they want you to pay for stuff. The Ringer, they're nerds, but they're because of that they definitely be really invested in this stuff. But I think I looked at theirs. I didn't really like it that much. But we already know the first pick. Right. Let's just start off first pick while I look it up. The Suns. Ayton obviously is the move.
I think Phoenix. Right, it's Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix has 3 moves right here. The first one, I think the one that's most likely to happen is DeAndre Ayton from Arizona, obviously in their backyard. He projects out to be the best overall big man in this league or in this draft. And, defensively there's questions. But offensively, you see the work. You see the repertoire. The next move is reuniting his head coach with Luka Doncic. Obviously, the 19-year-old sensation. This guy's killing the second best league in the world, and it ain't even close. So, I definitely think he can play in the NBA. How good he will he be the best player out this draft? I don't know. But to make, that transition for their head coach easier and providing a level of comfort, that's who you take. The third option, I believe, is trading the number 1 pick to Minnesota and trying to get Karl Anthony Towns. So if Minnesota winds up with the pick, I think that for them, they may need to consider Luka. Because
why?
Because I don't like Jeff Teague for them. I think Jeff Teague is just a stopgap perimeter guy. And I think that if you compare Luka, right, because he, I don't think he has the foot speed to really guard the elite perimeter guys of the NBA. But you got Jimmy. So you put Jimmy on those guys, and Luka, he's big, so he can guard, 2 guards and even some 3s. So to me, I think that move makes a lot of sense for both squads because now you're reuniting Devin Booker with his college teammate in Cat.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to pull up now, the roster for the Suns. So we would be looking at. Go ahead, Q.
I think Ayton is definitely the pick here. Everything is pointing to him. I'm pretty positive that they gave him a promise already because he seems very content only wearing Phoenix gear, Suns gear. 34% from 3. I don't know. I think a lot of people might be a little overrating his potential to stretch. But, I think that there's potential there. There's definitely offensive upside. He has a lot of moves. He can take he can take people into the paint. He has a good mid-range game. I think that the biggest concern, like people pointed out, is he was very on defense, and that's the only thing that should scare you possibly about Aiden is the fact that he has this David Robinson body, but he plays defense like Tristan Thompson did last year, and I don't know if that isn't necessarily a product of him probably playing beside another center, but I think that it should be cause for pause if you're Phoenix. But I think that they look at his upside for offense and think, you know what, perhaps he just didn't try because he knew he was out of position at Arizona. So maybe their brain trust will say, you know what, who cares? He'll probably come into the league and start trying, and he'll actually block shots and do whatever. All he has to do, in my opinion, to be a great pick on defense is just try and just make the necessary switches when possible. If you're not a black hole on defense, then I think that this is a good pick. I think Phoenix has this one locked up at number 1 with DeAndre Ayton.
And they'll have a lot of talent. We're talking about Devin Booker, Josh Jackson, who came on strong. We still don't know what Bender's going to be. Chris has showed promise, Marquise Chris. And they got Peyton and Brandon Knight at the point, and then they still have a scoring machine in T.J. Warren. So, and then they'll have a center, a legit center. So yeah, it just seems like the no-brainer pick right there. If I'm the Sun, so that's what I would do. So the second pick in the draft, I think are the Kings. What do the Kings do here? Because there are rumors that they like Porter a lot, but they also like Bagley, and I think the latest I saw was that he's almost a lock to go. So what are you hearing, Q? What do you think?
I think it's Bagley here, definitely. Everything that I've seen points to Bagley. He met with them. I think he had dinner a couple nights ago, if not sometime this week. And from what I'm hearing, Sacramento's just not really much enthralled with Luka Doncic, so I think Bagley is it. I think Porter kind of scared some teams off with the whole back and the hip stuff. We'll get to him, but Bagley, Bagley's an interesting player because I don't necessarily know what he is.
Neither do I.
I don't know where he fits in today's NBA. That's probably my biggest concern for him is the fact that I don't see much continuity of an offensive game. And I don't see much of anything on defense. Now, I think he said earlier today, if not yesterday, that he's a great defender, and he was just, young, and it was his first year because I think he reclassified, so this was his essentially kind of skipped up a year, if I'm not mistaken, and he went to Duke. So he should be a senior in high school this year coming up, but instead now he's in the draft. So he is young, but 20% from three, but he is a effortless athlete. Everything that I've seen him, he can fly. When he does get steals in transition, he's dangerous. And I think he needs to get with a coach and get with an organization that knows what they're doing. And that is why I'm scared for him in Sacramento, because I don't know much about their development coaches, because all of what's going to make Marvin Bagley a great player is somebody that can either recognize that he's a versatile guy and try to show him that he can do multiple things well, or they're going to have to find a development coach that tries to kind of not pigeonhole him, but tries to define his role. Is he Iguodala? Is he Chris Bosh? Is he Rudy Gay? We don't know what he is right now, but all I know is that he's an athlete, he's young, and last year in college he was just big boying people, just going up, getting lobs, and not really anything fluid about his offense other than the fact that, hey, I'm bigger and I'm a better athlete than almost 95% of you all that I'm playing against. And I think that is what's intriguing in Sacramento, because he's kind of like an alien in that sense. But for them, I don't know if this is the right pick, because they don't really have much of a good brain trust that I personally trust to give back a defined role in the NBA. It might just be another crash and burn.
I think for me, Sacramento is in a situation where they need an established scorer, because all of their guys are complementary guys. And I'm not saying that I think personally De'Aaron Fox can become an all-star level point guard, but I don't think that you build the team around him, right? Like he's a complementary guy to a guy that has the skill set of a Michael Porter. So I like the idea that that's where they're thinking, because that's what they need to lay the foundation of their identity. They need to play quicker, but they need also a guy that they can just give him the ball and go get us buckets. They don't have that. They have an athletic freak in Willie Cauley-Stein that's now getting minutes. De'Aaron Fox is another freakishly quick guy on the perimeter. They don't have a guy that they can just a go-to scorer. Michael Porter gives them that. Marvin Bagley is another glue guy, a guy that needs to play off of another guy. Marvin Bagley, in my estimation, isn't going to be a focal point of any offense. He's a complementary guy. And I disagree with Q in a sense of the fluidity of his game. When I watch them play, the jumper isn't perfect, but the jumper looks nice enough. You know what I'm saying? It's nice enough to be built upon. You know what I'm saying? And also, he has ball handling skill. I'm not saying he's the best ball handler. Neither is Blake Griffin. But years ago, when we was actually doing videos for Dead End Sports, and we were naming our top 5 power forwards, and I clearly remember like it was yesterday that I said the reason why I put Blake in, I believe it was number 4 in that video, was because of his ball handling ability, because that puts extreme pressure on the defense, especially a guy like Marvin Bagley that averaged double-digit rebounds. Rebounding translates directly to the NBA. So you know he's going to be a double-double coming in. If he can get that rock and just go and put pressure on that defense quicker, that's a problem. And again, my 3 to 5 rule. When he gets bigger, more strong, more skillful, because he'll be working on his craft, he's gonna be a problem. But I still don't see him as a guy, hey Marvin, go get us a bucket. He can go get you a bucket if he has a mismatch, either on the perimeter or down low, but he's not a scorer in that way. He's a complimentary guy. And if Sacramento wants to turn the corner, and you got Michael Porter right there, you got to take him.
Yeah. Looking at their roster, when I think about Bagley, in addition to what they already have, Willie Cauley-Stein, Bagley
same guy
could be right now, same guy. Skal Labissiere, kind of still same templates, still the same guy. They have Harry Giles. We don't know what he's going to be, but probably the same guy, so they don't have a guy that has the abilities from what I've seen with Michael Porter on that team yet. They thought Buddy, at least what's the GM name, Radinkovic or whatever, thought Buddy Hield was going to be, better than Curry.
Oh, you talking about the owner?
The owner, yeah.
Vivek Ranadive.
Yeah. So they, but they got
Vivek.
He's a streaky guy. So they got him, they got Fox. So you got a point guard, you got a 5, Willie Cauley-Stein is, he does a lot of good things for you. But who's your guy? They don't have it yet. And
if you look in this draft, right? To me, obviously, if he's healthy, right? Because I didn't know he had a hip issue too. I knew he had the back. I'm willing to deal with the back. He's 19. Okay, cool. But then also the hip, I don't know. I have some concerns. But if you look at this entire draft, there's not another guy that you can pencil in 27 and 5. He's that guy in this draft. And that's what Sacramento needs if they're going to turn the corner. So the time is now. You have to make a decision, and it is a risk. But there's no other guy that's going to put your squad in a better position to win right now than Michael Porter healthy.
What about Doncic?
Obviously he can play off of
him and Fox, so.
No, but I like it though because Doncic's biggest problem is foot speed in the NBA, guarding guys like Fox. Right? So if you have Fox and he plays off the ball, because he can't play off the ball, he play 1 through 3. The man's 6'7". He's 19 years old. He's
6'7".
He's 6'7". He might grow another inch. You know what I'm saying? And you have that type of skill set. I like it, but at the same time, do we know him to be a dominant scorer?
Not from what I've seen.
Right? He's a ball kind of guy, meaning that he's going to pass the rock. He's not going to be a dominant. I don't think he's a dominant scorer. You know what I'm saying? Like a killer guy like that. Now, he might have the kill gene, but I don't think he's Kyrie. I don't think he's a guy that's just going to go get buckets like that. But if you have Michael Porter at 6'10" and 3/4 with ball skill, that was the only big invited to a Steph Curry camp, that's who I'm taking, bro. I think he's the reincarnation of Carmelo, but better offensively.
Yeah. All right. The Hawks. Now, we, previewed earlier that they're looking to move
right
down.
Here.
I don't like the move.
Give me yours.
Yeah, I don't like the move. I don't like trading down to get Trae Young.
Same.
Because I just don't know. He's boom or bust. If he hits, he hits.
But here's the thing.
But if he don't, man, it's
number,
such a Hawks move.
But let me ask you this though. At number 3, who are you taking that has more potential than Trae Young based off of the roster that they have? Because remember, they already have medium-sized guys that are young. Taurean Prince. They just drafted John Collins the other year. You know what I'm saying? They already have a young nucleus, but no true leader, right? And that's the reason why they gave Dennis Schroeder the contract that they gave him.
But he got an attitude problem, and they don't know if they like him anymore.
Okay, but that's the reason why you move on. And how do you move on? You draft Trae Young, the biggest boom and bust potential. But they haven't been this high in the draft in a very long time, right? Since the CP years, right? So we're talking almost 2 decades now, and they still haven't gotten the guy. And now, if you look at everybody else on that list, who has a bigger upside than Trae Young?
All right, so based on what we have so far, we have Bagley and Ayton off the board. They're looking at Doncic or trading down. So why not Doncic there, or why not Michael Porter Jr.?
Okay,
I think it's Doncic there, hands down. I don't think they do the Trae Young thing, man. I think that Atlanta, they just hired Lloyd Pierce. He was an assistant coach for the Sixers last year, and I think for the last 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the thing that makes them have to pick Doncic here is because Doncic, while him as a prospect, he's very polarizing from what I've seen on NBA Twitter circles and like the Reddit circles and just people in general who talk about sports, is that there's like a camp that either loves him, thinks that he could be the reincarnation of like a Magic Johnson for some reason, or they're the people that think that he is complete bust potential, too slow to guard anybody.
That's me.
Not good enough as a shooter. And just it doesn't have it yet.
He doesn't get a lot of lift off his jump.
I'm somewhere in the middle, where I think that Doncic is a talented passer. I think that he has a promising 3-point stroke. It looks good. He has a go-to move at 19. That's probably the most tantalizing thing about Doncic is he has a step-back 3. And I think what we just saw last year from who I think will be the MVP, even though I think it should be LBJ, James Harden, is the fact that step-back 3 is deadly. So when you see Doncic at 19, who's been winning since he's touched the ball, he's been winning in the second-best league in the world, I think that Atlanta's brain trust, their GM and their owner will say, look, this 6'2" guy from Oklahoma, he's great, and there is a very marginal chance that he'll be the next Steph Curry, and I know that we want to bet on that marginal chance, but if this Luka guy turns out to be a winner and he turns out to be like the next James Harden, then we'll look foolish because we could have had him at 6'9", and he can make all of our guys better. You have guys like John Collins, Taurean Prince, Bazemore. He'll make those guys better immediately, and they'll be able to make a little bit of noise probably in the first couple months, and then he'll fizzle off, but you might have a rookie of the year. And that's what the Hawks need, is a guy. Steph Curry, like his maturation has been one of the most amazing things that we've seen in the NBA. But when I look at Trae Young, I don't see Steph. I don't see that. I see a guy who can be a great knockdown 3-point shooter, even off the dribble. I don't see that range yet from Steph, and I think that he could be a good enough passer. But Steph to me is like a once every couple 20 years.
28 in AQ.
It's
Q.
like a lifetime.
Nah, Q. Look. This is why I think you tripping. First of all, Steph has the Michael Jordan effect. I wanna be like Steph. That's what it is. Right. And I think Trae Young is one of the first guys that we're going to see in the mold of Steph Curry. Now, you're 100% right. Steph Curry is one of a kind shooter. Like, he's the best shooter that we've ever seen. But because of that, we're going to see more shooters. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the game is so global right now. But with Trae Young and the Hawks taking him, the reason why I like it, because the NBA right now is all about pace and tempo. Right? Tempo meaning getting up and down the court. Pace meaning how the ball moves in the half-court offense. Right? Like, the ball needs to be popping. And Trae Young, to me, is the best guy to run an offense like a la Philly, where you have the ball in your hand, it's pick and roll a lot, but you also have weak side action. It's a lot of handoffs. It's a lot of I like Trae for that. Why, Ken? What did I say about Golden State and Steph Curry, why he's their most important player? Not their best, but the most important. Space.
Yep.
You got to guard him too far out. Let Trae Young bust 2-3 threes from damn near 40.
And he will try it.
Yeah. Let him bust 3 out there.
He think
he's Steph, right? And that's the thing I like, too, about him. He has the confidence. He's not necessarily cocky, but he know he good. And he's going to come out there and try to kill you. I love the killer instinct. And let him hit 2-3 threes from way back there. What does the defense have to do? You got to press up on him. So what does that do for guys like Taurean Prince and John Collins? I don't know if Luka Doncic has that yet. I don't know if he can play up and down. Now, I don't think he could play up and down at that speed on the perimeter like Trae Young can right now. I just, for the fit wise, now Luka may be a better player, but at the end of the day, I think he has the biggest boom potential. 28-8, bro. He's not gonna fall off to 10 points. I don't think the NBA is that tough where you're gonna make this guy score 18 less points.
And he was on a team where late in the college season, he was the one guy that teams just
keyed in on. They did to him what the Pelicans did to Dame.
Yes. So and he had to adjust to that, and he somewhat did. I just think, I don't know. I have two schools of thoughts here. I think Luka is the safe pick. If you stay,
but that's why I don't like it, because the Hawks need like somebody that is going to take them into a new era.
But from everything that I've seen over the course of the years leading up to now, was Luka. He was supposed to be that man. He was supposed to be that guy. And I watched stuff.
Believe it though?
Not from what I've seen, but I can't. It's hard to judge. He looks slow. Is he Gordon Hayward? I don't know. It's hard to tell, but he's safe. And if he's good enough, that'll work. Schrader, Doncic, Taurean Prince, who show he got game, and John Collins, you need about 2 more pieces. So I don't know. Now, the thing I do like about Trae Young, what do you get in addition to that you can build the team with? And Trae Young is sell tickets. Trae Young is box office. He's a star. He's a star already.
Thank you.
Coming in the league.
And think about it, Ken. How long has it been since we've had that? And be honest.
It's been since the Joe Johnson.
Come on,
when Joe Johnson,
Dominique,
Smith,
man. Let's be honest.
When that team was winning, when that Hawks team was winning, I'm not talking about the core years.
Perpetual purgatory. Second rounders, Ken. Second rounders. You talking about team winning second round, Ken? They never got out past the second round. I know,
but hey, Atlanta loved it. But box office was Dominique, yes, and Trae Young, if he booms, could be this NBA's Dominique Wilkins. Exactly. Not athleticism and dunking and high flying, but the shooting.
Exactly. Look, what I'm saying is the Hawks need another guy that could potentially have a statue outside of Phillips Arena. And it can't just be Dominique no more.
And a reason to go watch them play even when they're losing.
Exactly.
This is a business after all.
Exactly.
So you know, and you know, if you're the Hawks, look, we're Black City. We're Black City, Q. We know Trae Young. We don't know this Donkish guy. So, you know, I like the safe pick. I have my concerns about Trae Young. You know, I don't feel comfortable with the decision, but I can talk myself into it.
I definitely think they'll explore it. But I think at the end of the day, I think Lloyd Pierce will definitely advocate for Doncic after seeing Ben Simmons. I think he'll just go into the office like, look, he can make all of these guys better. Theoretically, that's what Doncic is supposed to be able to do. So when you're like, hey, this guy is 6'9", he's been winning since he was touching the ball at 6 years old. In the second best league in the world, just won his second finals, I believe, over there. Won MVP, Eurobasket.
They didn't look like NBA Q
because he'll make everyone better.
They didn't look like NBA players, dog. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying I would do this.
Yeah.
Personally, if this is the way that I did my mock draft was what I think the teams will do. Personally, right here, I think Atlanta should take Jaren Jackson, but they are going to take either Luka Doncic or they're going to trade down for Trae Young. But I think at the end of the day, I think Luka is going to be the pick because you just can't let this talent go because then you'll have a KP situation, man. What if the Sixers took Kristaps? Then you have Joel and Kristaps. But now you have Jahlil Okafor who you traded for a bag of peanuts. So it's like you can't pass on that.
If the talent is real. Yeah, if the talent is real. The Memphis Grizzlies, I think, are interesting. Because I don't know who they really need to get.
So in my mock draft, right, like I have Ayton going first. Mm-hmm. I have Michael Porter going second. I got Trae Young going third. Here, I would have Marvin Bagley.
Bagley won't be there.
Well, but again, in my
I know
mock
it's
draft,
your draft.
right? Like I have Ayton.
Oh, okay.
Then I have who's picking? I have Michael Porter,
Ayton, Porter, Young, Bagley.
Bagley in Memphis is a problem
with Gasol, Conley.
He's a glue guy that they're not going to ask a lot of because you already know the scoring load is going to come from Conley and Marc Gasol. Bruh, go out there and do your thing. Go run up and down. Go block shots. Go get rebounds. Go be the glue guy. If he's there, that's a problem.
Yeah. So it sounds to me then that the Grizzlies, based on your scenario, need one of these three guys. Michael Porter Jr., if he's there, mm-hmm. Jaren Jackson Jr. or Bamba.
He's not working out for him. Neither Jackson or Bamba have given up their medicals, so I don't think they both are not trying to go there. In my mock draft, I have Michael Porter going here easily. I think that Memphis wants a guy that after Gasol and Conley are gone, because, you know, the wear and tear is getting there, man. Gasol's getting up there, so is Conley, and they paid him the biggest contract in NBA history at the time. And I think that Memphis is open to trading down from what I'm hearing because they want to get out from under the Chandler Parsons contract, which they never should have did in the first place. But I think Michael Porter Jr. is the pick here. 6'10", ridiculous upside on the offensive end. There's just a lot of red flags for me that I would be scared about with Michael Porter going.
Hey, Q. Who do you have going second?
I got Bagley going second to Sacramento. I think that they just want a guy who can get points and be a box office guy.
I think they'll trade down. I think they'll trade out of it. I think Memphis probably will.
No, I don't think Memphis will.
Memphis cannot afford to get this wrong, those people. Like, they can't get this wrong. They have done so many boneheaded things, traded so many good picks. They cannot afford to just get this wrong and pick some guy who doesn't turn into be anything. They have to think about future here. So I think Porter has to be the pick.
Yeah, if he's available, I definitely think it's Porter or Bagley. I think those two guys fit what Memphis has going on right now. You know, and they extend you into the future. You know, I think they're future guys that can be I think Porter could be the best player or the first scoring option on a championship team. And I think Bagley could be your second or third best player on the championship team. So, having those type of pieces in place, especially in Memphis, because they're going to make the playoffs. If they stay healthy, they're going to make the playoffs. And at the beginning of the podcast, I said that experience is the biggest teacher in basketball. So the quicker you can get these young players to experience playoff basketball is the quicker that they will mature. And you already know if Memphis is healthy, they're not just probably going to be a first-round team. They'll most likely make it to a second round.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's. I have no idea with that one. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But I think that has the potential to mess up what I would like to see, and we'll get to that in a second. So next on the list, who did you guys have going fifth? So we got the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas?
Yeah.
I got Jaren Jackson. I think Jaren Jackson is potentially the best big in this draft. He's potentially also the best two-way player in this draft. Great wingspan. He's a project player, however. I think that coming in, expecting him to, just be like the next, like Draymond 2.0, it's not going to be that immediately. I think he has to get acclimated to the NBA game because he has some motor issues. His three-point stroke is weird, but it works for what we've seen. And the thing is, though, is that he wasn't the best player on his team because I think that they were playing a lot of guys out of position. When it comes to Dallas, I think that they have to make this pick here because I think it's either him or Bamba. They have to get a big to replace Dirk, and they also have to have a guy that can run with Dennis Smith Jr. And I think that Jaren Jackson is the prototypical player that you want in the NBA now, two-way guy. So what do we see, man? We say this every spring. We see it for the last 3 springs when it comes to the finals. We see it. The same player. He's long, he can switch, and that's why this team is going to the second round. He's long, he can switch, that's why the team is going to the finals. We have to keep that in perspective, man. That's the prototypical guy that you need in the NBA now, man. So Jaren Jackson is 6'11", also his dad played in the NBA. I think, in my opinion, at his peak, this guy is like a way better Draymond Green. I mean a consistent three-point shot, a guy who potentially is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And I think that Dallas has to make the pick here for Jaren Jackson because he is so young also. I think he's the youngest player in this draft. So that projects to be a guy that you can have in your team for 10-plus years as your staple on defense. And plus, you need a guy that can run with Dennis Smith Jr., man. You have to have a guy that plays defense behind him. And I think that Dallas will look at their future and be like, look, Dirk is out of here soon. Harrison Barnes he's an okay player, but we don't have box office guys yet. And we need Dennis and Jaren to carry on the mantle as our next guys.
And now, Q, do you like Jaren Jackson better than Bamba?
Personally, in my opinion, Mo Bamba is the best player in this draft. In my personal opinion, I think the dude. What's up?
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying I think Mo Bamba is the best player in this draft, man. 7'10", wingspan, his 3-point stroke, dude. He's working out with Joel Embiid every day. This man is like, if mad scientists came together in a lab and said, you know what, let's get a player that can stop Joel Embiid. like that's just what I think of him as. And Mo Bamba, he just has so much potential to be like an absolute freak that we've never seen. People use the word alien a lot and use the word freak a lot. This dude could be an alien in the NBA. Like, I've never seen anything like this. Gobert has long arms. This dude makes Gobert's arms look like T-Rex arms, man. Like, his reach is ridiculous. Like, standing reach, he's touching the rim, like the top of the rim. So that in the middle, him and Dennis Smith coming at you in transition because he can run. Mm-hmm. Dude, that's absolutely scary. But I think that Dallas is just going to take the safe pick here because Jaren is a two-way guy. But Bamba, to me, in my personal opinion, he has the potential to be a two-way guy where it's like you see that stroke, you see his defensive potential. It's like having like Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns melded together, their best qualities. That's what I think peak Mo Bamba could be. His floor is that he's a better Clint Capella, and that's already a player that's getting $80 million on a contract, who's being one of your best guys, defensive player of the year, potential type guy. His floor is a great player. His ceiling is a phenomenal player. So I think Mo Bamba might be the safest guy, the safest big besides Wendell Carter in this draft. So I love Mo Bamba.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. That's the reason why I was surprised that you had him not going to Dallas. But no, you had him going to Memphis, right?
I got Mo Bamba going all the way to 7 in Chicago.
That would be awesome. But honestly, if I'm Dallas, that's who I'm taking. Mainly because of how he pairs with Dennis Smith. Obviously, Dirk probably only has a year or two left. But like you said, the transition and the fact that you already know Mo Bamba is going to average at least 1.5 to 3 blocks a game. I think that's the range where he's going to be at. And you get that many opportunities to run in transition to get that type of stop. That's going to be scary. And you already know Dennis Smith is an athletic freak. Then you throw it up to a guy that can touch the rim already, and he got hops. It's not like he can't jump. So you can put the ball anywhere. I like that pairing. Now, the thing I don't like about it is that there are reports that Mo Bamba doesn't have the drive to want to be the best. Like, he's not Kobe. He's not maniacal. He's not in the gym every single day trying to just be the greatest ever, right? Like, he doesn't have that. And Rick Carlisle, to play for him, to be on his good side, you got to be kind of that kind of guy. So I don't know from a coach-player perspective if it mends well, but looking to the future, and what I said it earlier in this podcast, if you got a little guy that's dominant, you need a big guy that can physically impose his will. And nobody's going to more in this draft physically impose their will on both sides of the court than Mo Bamba. So I like Mo Bamba here.
So what do the Magic do at number 6? Who do you guys have? Who do you got, FIFO?
Trae Young, man.
Well, for you, because that's where you have him slipping. But yeah, I think that is the outside of the Hawks moving back and trying to get Trae Young, or just taking them at 3. I think that Orlando, this is desperation. They need a Trae Young because think about it. They already drafted Elfrid Payton, and I told you what he was going to be. Ken, you didn't want to believe me.
You did.
They already moved on from a defensive point guard, so obviously who's still available is Colin. But but if you already moved on from Elfrid, why are you going to replace him with Colin?
Who's a one-dimensional point guard?
Yeah, he's a defensive guy. And if
Colin Sexton's offensive.
Well, he could put the ball. He's better than Elfrid Payton on the offensive.
Yeah, he's more of a scoring point guard. I guess is what I saw.
I think he just has a killer instinct, and it's on defense and offense. But I don't think that he's like a natural born scorer, and I don't think he's gonna get 15 a game, barely 15 a game in the NBA.
So is that who you have them taking?
To me, because in my draft I would put
they need a lot.
They do, and the thing that this draft has a lot of is bigs, and they don't need another big. They need a point guard. So in my draft, Trae Young isn't there. But just going by what everybody is pretty much saying, Trae Young should still be available because the Hawks ain't going to take him. So if he's available, that's the best pick for them by far. Because they
have to have a guy.
Yeah, they don't have a guy. And then when you look at Aaron Gordon, right, I see the next Blake Griffin, but we saw Blake Griffin's game take a step when what?
CP3 left.
No, when CP3 got there.
Yeah,
remember, there was a boom in Blake's Griffin.
Good pick and roll point guard.
Exactly.
Let me go. Okay.
When think about it. Now, Blake was rookie of the year. He was good, but he took a leap forward with CP.
The David West effect.
Exactly. That's what great point guards do, though.
Yeah.
They elevate their bigs. It makes the game easier. Look at how Dame and LaMarcus dominated. Mm-hmm. Every little guy needs a big guy because we can't physically impose our will. We need a guy to do that type of stuff. So like Aaron Gordon, I think his game takes another step forward if you draft Trae Young instantly.
Yeah, if he's there, and I think I saw a couple of mocks have him going there. I personally wouldn't like to see him there.
You said you wouldn't like to see
Orlando
him?
has to take him.
Nah, because I don't want to watch Trae Young in Orlando.
No, I feel you.
I feel you. Orlando, they have to go.
I know, but
it, man, they have to because they have no other option, man. I think they just signed Steve Clifford as their head coach. So they have to take Trae Young here because they need a box office guy that is going to attract attention. Like, you have to think about not only the draft from the X's and O's, you also got to think about it from the fact that this is a product that teams are trying to sell. And owners want a guy that's going to sell tickets, and they want a guy who's good. So when you're Orlando, you can't really be beggars, choosers here. You have to take the guy who averaged 28. And I think that Trae Young makes your guys around them a little bit better. It's not like a Luka gene where like everyone around you is going to be balling out. But I think that he makes guys like Hazonia. I think he makes guys like Fournier and guys like Aaron Gordon better. Orlando knows deep down that they completely like flubbed their rebuild. Because if you all think about it, they had Oladipo, they had Tobias Harris, and I'll give you Elfrid Payton. I think he was pretty good in Phoenix. So. But Elfrid Payton, it had Vucevic, who was a solid big, and they had like good guys like Hazonia coming up, and they just kept signing centers like Ibaka, and they signed the dude in Toronto,
Bismack.
Biyombo. Yeah. These weird contracts, and then they just traded away all these guys, and now all these other guys have become good players like Oladipo. Is good. Tobias Harris is a great player who is going to get even better because he's only 25. And now you're kind of stuck in purgatory where it's like we don't really have anything besides Aaron Gordon, who is a very promising guy. I think he could be better than Blake Griffin because he doesn't have the health issues, so his development won't get stunted. So I think Trae Young has to be the guy here because they just need a guy with potential star offensive talent. And he's an underrated playmaker, too. So I think they have to go with Trae Young here.
28-8. All right. So, God, I don't want to see that happen. Because, like you said, they're just purgatory, man. It'd just be a waste of his talents. The Bulls. Who do you have the Bulls taking, Q?
I got Bamba here. I think him and Lauri Markkanen would be a fantastic front court. It'd be like a poor man's version of if he fell to New York. But I think Lauri Markkanen is going to be a good player. They just need a guy.
Hey, Q.
What's up?
Did you see that Lauri Markkanen picture of how swole he's gotten over the summer?
Yeah, everyone's working out. I saw Kuzma's also working out with The Rock. I don't know what's going on. Guys just want to get their bodies right. Miles Turner, same thing. And Lauri Markkanen, I think he could be a player, man. I think that I really like his game
already.
Him and Bamba together with Zach LaVine and maybe Chris Dunn, if he could be anything. I think he improved last year. I think that's a solid core to start with. And you have good role players.
And you got Bobby Portis.
Yeah, like Portis. You got Portis there, and you have, what's his name, Denzel Valentine, who I think still should be something in the NBA. You have a bunch of glue guys there. If you put Bamba there next to Markkanen, and you have Zach LaVine, I think you have 3 of your 5 on a contending team. You just need to nail a point guard trade, or next year go after a point guard if you're still in the lottery. And then I think you're right there that you just trade for your wing. But I think Chicago, if Garth Foreman could just not mess this up, I think that Bamba, if he's there, he's right there. Take the guy who can make Lauri Markkanen better, because then Lauri can extend his range out to the three-point. Even though he already is a great three-point shooter, he'll be able to take more, and Bamba will be able to accentuate on defense, because then you won't be able to go into the paint on Chicago and put all the stress on defense on Lauri's shoulders. You kind of have like a twin tower thing going on there. but I think it can work because both of these bigs will have 3-point range. So Chicago, if he's there, I think they go Mo Bamba.
Okay. Did you have that one mocked out?
Chicago. Let me see. Who do I have going already? Honestly, I didn't get this far.
Yeah. Let's see. So the Cavs. This is an interesting spot for them.
It is.
Because Porter Jr. could fall all the way to them. I don't think it's going to happen. Trae Young could fall all the way to them. I don't think that's going to happen.
But hold on. Let's pause right there. So if they do get Michael Porter or Trae Young, is that enough for LeBron? Or is LeBron already out of there?
I think LeBron's already out of there. I think LeBron will have to look at the medical reports. Porter's back. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping and praying that they get Michael Porter Jr. Mm-hmm. I just like what I saw. Like, this dude is electric. This dude, man, it's a shame that he has the back issues because I think he definitely had next. Mm-hmm. And if his back issues are not or won't be a problem, then I think he will have next. But we'll find out how concerned teams are with his back if he's still on the board here. So I think Porter Jr. is on there and Trae Young is on there. And I think if he's still available, Wendell Carter Jr. will be on their list. Who do you have, Q?
Right here I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
What kind of mock draft are you doing?
Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Cleveland likes him a lot. They also like Colin Sexton, so either of them can go here. But they need a ball handler. If Michael Porter falls here, then I think this is a no-brainer, but I don't think he's falling past Orlando at all if he gets out of the top 5. But I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's a young guard. I think he has a 7-foot wingspan at 6'6", incredible defensive talent. He has a lot of offensive upside as a shooter. Like, when he's set, he's pretty solid. He's not amazing. And he gets to the rim with, like, he has, like, a Harden gene in him where he can stop on a dime and get to his other hand so quickly but so smoothly and lay it up with either hand. And I think that if he can work on just getting, like, his shot up quicker, then I think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might be the steal of the draft because he's such a versatile, like, point guard that any type of offense is a plus. Plus, Cleveland, they need to swing for the fences here, and I think that what will ultimately scare them away from Colin Sexton is the fact that perhaps he was a good to okay player on a very bad team as the only option. I think he had a 32.5 usage rate. He was like the only offense at Alabama. So I don't know if it's so much killer instinct and killer mentality rather than who else going to score but me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a lot of what was going on in Alabama. And I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I think that they're going to take the smarter player here. And I think Cleveland is going to go with Gilgeous-Alexander out of Kentucky.
Okay. Yeah, I think if Porter's gone, if Trae Young gone, I think they may go a little bit with name here, name recognition. And Sexton and Love could work because, you know, they need offense. And, you know, that guy, this Alexander kid, I think he has work to do. And I don't know if they'll be patient enough to wait that out. But yeah, we'll see. Or, you know, they may, like I said, probably go with Wendell Carter Jr. because they want to get rid of Tristan Thompson. And you know, so we'll see. So moving on, the Knicks, I think they're in an interesting spot because they like Trae Young too. At this point, we don't think he'll be there, but Colin Sexton may still be there if they take Alexander or Carter Jr. Who do you have them taking? Q, the Knicks.
Sexton. I think that's the easy pick him to pick him here.
Why though? They have Frank.
Yeah.
Because all right, here's the reason why. I think that what they're doing with Frank is I see Frank. How you say it?
I don't know.
Tilla or Nilakina. Anyway, Frankie Smokes, as everyone calls him. I think that he's like the Iguodala of like a championship team, man. He's going to be inserted into the starting five because he's a fantastic defensive player. But I think that he's not your primary ball handler on a championship team. I think the reason why they go with Colin Sexton here, and I know that that'll give them Colin, Trey Burke, Frank, and Moutier. But I don't think two of those guys last throughout the entire season for the Knicks. So I think that it'll end up being Frank and Colin Sexton. I think he's not a great shooter. He shot 33.5. But his mechanics, man, that they aren't broken. Like the shot looks good enough. He just needs to raise the efficiency to be a great player. And contrary to what I said earlier, if he can prove that it wasn't just good stats, bad team, I think he does have a slight bit of star potential, almost in the vein of like a Kemba Walker, where it's like, you know what, I'll pay to see him play tonight because he gets to the rim. He is ferocious in the way he attacks the rim. And when he gets hot, man, he gets hot. And I think that New York likes a guy like that. And he is a smart player, but the knock on him coming out of Alabama is the fact that he doesn't make the greatest of decisions, kind of a mixed bag. But the thing is, though, is that you can't name the second best player on his team. And now you can think of this as a good thing or a bad thing, what I'm about to say, but is he good Markelle Fultz or is he bad Markelle Fultz? Because if he's good Markelle Fultz, that means that him coming out of Washington, a.k.a. this Alabama team, if he's coming out of Washington and he was the best player on the team and he was balling out, then he was just balling out, and that's just his talent. But if he's bad Markelle Fultz, everyone's going to look at him and be like, oh, see, there was no one on his team. He was just getting good stats and stuff in the sheet. I think that New York goes and swings for the fences here with a guy that has a little bit of like a Kemba in him. And I think that pairing him with a Porzingis and potentially a tanking season where they'll get a guy like a Zion or another guy, one of those guys from Duke, I think you start to see a little something materialize here. So I have Colin Sexton, guard, Alabama, going 9th to New York.
Okay. Yeah, I think if Wendell Carter's on the board, I think they may get him. But we'll see. So next up are the 76ers. Last I saw, they were interested in a guy named Zaire Smith. Who do you have the Sixers, your squad, who do you have them drafting, Q?
There's three guys. Mikal Bridges from Villanova. 3-and-D wing, 43% from three, incredible defensive talent, can come in and can contribute immediately. What plagued the Sixers last year, besides from their youth and their inexperience, is the fact that they don't have a lot of guys that can come in, get their own shot, and switch on defense. That's like the biggest thing that I've seen is we don't have guys that can do that. So I think that aside from Covington and aside from Simmons and Embiid, we don't have a lot of defensive guys like Boston has. They have Tatum, Rozier, Brown. They even have guys like Shane Larkin that can come in and get good minutes, and they have a deep bench. So we have to come in to this draft with three potential guys. It's Mikal Bridges, it's Kevin Knox from Kentucky, and I think it's Zaire Smith. The other two are pretty good players from Texas Tech. Zaire, he's kind of an unknown, but he's athletic as I don't know what. Kevin Knox is, I think he's the youngest player in this draft, just turned 18. So you have like a Tatum potential there with Knox. Not saying that he has the same game as him, but I think the potential is like you have a young guy who can switch multiple positions, knock down 3-and-D. And I think that Philadelphia, after getting the spanking in the playoffs this year, you have to have a guy like that in mind because that was ultimately your downfall. So you're almost matching firepower for firepower with Boston. You're trying to keep up.
Okay. Yeah, I think Mikal Bridges is the one that I like the most out of those three. But I do like Kevin Knox a lot too. Okay, so after them, the Hornets. The Hornets are on the board. They traded Dwight Howard, and they still have Kemba Walker at 11. Who do you have them taking?
All right, so I either got them taking Kevin Knox or Wendell Carter here. I think that the pick would probably end up being Kevin Knox because they're probably going to get out from under MKG very, very soon. But Kevin Knox, potential 3D guy, like I said, incredibly young and raw. But there's talent there that can be molded into something very, very special. Probably like an Ariza 2.0 type of guy there if he pans out. 6'9", very athletic guy. I think that Kevin Knox could be that guy for them and pair him with like a Monk and a Kemba if he's still there, which I think they probably move him sometime soon. But those three guys together could be something that gives Charlotte a little bit of excitement. But Wendell Carter, to me, also is like a Al Horford guy. And I think that those guys in the NBA are going to start coming into like a list of important must-haves in drafts. Because a guy that does it all, you really can't get mad at that. So those two guys probably. And other than that, I don't see them going anywhere else other than those two guys, really.
Yeah, and if Carter is there, it would make sense considering the fact that they just got rid of Howard, so you can replace him with the center, and you already got Malik Monk. You got Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker leaves. Malik Monk, even though he's more of a two, could slide into that spot. Mm-hmm. But, so I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Next up, Clippers. So, who do you have them taking?
I got them taking Lonnie Walker from the University of Miami. FIFO, have you seen Lonnie Walker's game?
Oh, he stepped away for a second.
Okay. Well, either way, Lonnie Walker is fantastic. From what I've seen at Miami, he has like if you watch any of his tape, Ken, he's like literally I'm trying to figure out a guy like a Zach LaVine, and we can think of another player like Zach LaVine and Oladipo. You mix those two guys, I think that's what Lonnie Walker's ceiling could be, because he's probably the best athlete in this draft besides Zaire Smith. Jumps out the gym, shoots the three ball well. Only downsides are probably a little bit of a dribbling issue. And he is a potential defensive stopper as well, because he has all the athletic tools for him to stay with guys, to stay in front of guys, and to get his hands on balls that really you just can't teach that type of stuff. But I think with just the right amount of just reps, I think it'll come naturally to him because he's such a athletically gifted guy. So I have Lonnie Walker, shooting guard out of University of Miami.
FIFO's back. Have you seen Lonnie Walker play? Out of Miami?
No.
Okay.
But I've read a lot about him. I like him.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
I like him.
Okay, so him to the Clippers, and then the Clippers have back-to-back picks. So who do they take after that with the 13th pick, the second to last pick?
13?
In the lottery.
13?
Yeah.
After taking Lonnie Walker, I have them taking Miles Bridges here. If Kevin Knox is still there, obviously they take him. But I think that Miles Bridges and Lonnie Walker, if you come away with that, I think you have two great pieces to rebuild your team with, along with a guy like Tobias Harris, Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams. You have a bunch of great glue guys. And I think that Jerry West, if he cannot trade these two picks, I think Jerry West, I think you all talked about this earlier, but Jerry West has been trying to get up into the top 10, top 5 to select Michael Porter Jr. But if he can't get that, I think that leaving this draft with Miles Bridges and Lonnie Walker will make for incredible pieces to build around. Because Miles Bridges, to me, I think he's going to be like a 4 or a 3 in the NBA. But he can defend multiple positions, knocks down, the open three. And I think he can handle the ball well, and I think he can initiate offense. And also, he's athletic as I don't know what. So if you leave this draft with two athletic guys like Lonnie Walker and Miles Bridges, I think that the Clippers have really great building blocks, and they can always package these guys that they just acquire. Because what they don't understand is that Jerry West, if he were to keep them, these picks, he's going to pick guys that other teams immediately within the hunt will want. Because if you have guys like Lonnie Walker, you have guys like Knox or Bridges here, which I think they'll pick Bridges. But you have guys like Jordan, you have guys like Patrick Beverly. If you are able to put together like a first-round pick and like 2 or 3 of those guys for a guy like Kawhi or a guy like PG or, a guy like Anthony Davis, then you're back already. The Clippers, they have positioned themselves in a great place, and I think that if you're a Clippers fan, it's going to be rough for another year or so, but they're stockpiling a lot of assets, and plus if they were to keep this pick or if they just turn it into Porter, either way, you're going to get your star, and I think that they're doing the smart thing by either staying or trying to trade it up. So you really can't lose with either situation, but I got them going back-to-back, Walker and Bridges.
And if think about it this way, too. I mean, given, West's track record in drafting players, I mean, if he hits on these guys, who knows what he can stumble on. He could stumble on another version of Clay and Curry. You just never know. So, that's possible. Especially with, their upside. So it just depends on, like, what staff he puts in place to develop these guys. So the lottery goes, 14 deep, right? So
I think it's just 13 deep.
13?
14
No,
it's like right there.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's 14 because 16 teams make the playoffs.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So the last one on the board are the Nuggets.
I forgot about the Nuggets.
Yeah, did you mock them up?
Yeah, I have for the Nuggets. What is it? I'm sorry. I got them actually trading this pick in real life, but if we're talking about just like mock draft, what I think they'll do. See, this is hard because they barely made the playoffs. I'm sorry, they barely missed the playoffs. But I think they take a guy like Troy Brown or Zaire Smith here, and Troy Brown is a great guard out of Oregon, shooting guard, small forward, and he's just a two-way guy. And I think that that's just where the league is going for the next like 5-6 years. And I think that the Nuggets, they need versatile guys that you can put next to Jamal Murray so he doesn't get exploited. And I think that guys like Gary Harris, as great as they are, I think that Nugget fans will have to come to grips with the fact that this kid, while he's very good, he's just incredibly injury prone. So you have to have a guy waiting in the wings that if you don't extend him, then it's like, okay, we still have Troy Brown. Plus Zaire Smith is just a great athlete, Texas Tech. Doesn't really know what his position is, but his mechanics on his shot aren't broken. So he could develop into a ridiculous type athlete that can shoot the ball, and that's very dangerous in today's NBA because we don't really see a lot of those guys besides probably Zach LaVine. And I think that there's a lot of options for them here, but I think it's Troy Brown, Zaire Smith. Also, one more guy that I want to talk about was Robert Williams out of Texas A&M. I think he's a sophomore. I think he was a sophomore, but either way, he has clear pros and cons in his game. But once again, two-way guy, man. I really think that he can block shots, incredibly athletic, and I think that what makes him dangerous for them here is the fact that he could be your backup guy immediately behind Jokic, and I think that they don't really have a guy for Jokic to kind of spell some minutes for him, but I think that those options are wide open for him. Also, don't sleep on DiVincenzo out of Villanova. He could fill it up too, but I got them taking Zaire Smith here.
All right, cool. Well, that's it, man. That's the NBA draft coverage. Obviously, the draft goes down tonight at the time that you guys are hear this, and we'll see who goes where, who trades what, and it should be exciting. A lot of names in this draft. So while a lot of people aren't hyped about it, I think we're gonna have some future pieces that we'll see in the NBA for years to come. So yeah, so that's it. You got anything else, Q?
I don't think I do. I actually do have one quick topic. People, what do you think about Michael Porter as a prospect? See, I'm very conflicted with him because on one hand, I see this potential that everyone is talking about, but on the other hand, I also see the incredible potential for this to be a flop pick at the end of the day.
Because of the injury?
Because both sides. Yeah, it's the injury, but it's not just that. It's really not just that. I've looked at his high school tape and I've looked at all the knocks on him, and I think that he has a bad shot selection. I think he takes a lot of bad shots, and I think that from what I've heard, he's not very easy to coach. He's kind of a head case. Like, thinks he's like the best guy on every team that he's played on. And I'm not saying he's not, but doesn't really pass the ball very well. Sloppy handle. And plus a back injury at 18, having to get your spine corrected, your like lower lumbar, and plus the hip spasms. That type of stuff for that type of bad posture at 6'11", it scares me for a team that cannot afford to miss on a guy that has that type of potential, because the guys are getting fired if he doesn't turn out to be good or if he's just hurt all the time. I think that his potential on one side for his upside, you have a guy like a mixture of like a Rudy Gay and a Giannis, like the best qualities of them. I like it, but there's so much on the red flag side that I think a team like a Chicago should be able to get away with taking him, because it's like he fell, and what were we supposed to do? Pass on him? He has this much potential, but a team like Memphis, they have to be absolutely sure that his back is fine and that he's the player for them, because if not, guys are out of the door. Like, guys are getting fired.
Well, here's the thing. I think him going to Memphis is perfect, because even if they miss, right, like Memphis is still ready-made to be a playoff contender, right? I'm not saying championship contender, but playoff contender, even without the number 4 pick. So I think that's the reason why it's like a no-pressure situation there for him. In terms of him as an actual basketball player, I really like it. The only question mark right now is the injuries, right? So can we get over the injury hurdle, right? We've seen Embiid. We waited for him for 3 seasons. I've been telling you since day one, I laid my eyes on him. He was the real deal. Right, but we had to wait 3 years just for him to prove the point. But at the end of the day, when you have that much talent, you have to take them. Even if you miss, I think that you don't get fired in low pressure situations. Now, if you draft somebody like him and he needs to have immediate impact and he doesn't, those are the GMs that get fired. So not every situation has the same temperature of water. Some of them are hotter than others. And I think that in Memphis is pretty cool because you got established guys. You have 2 established, legitimate veteran guys with playoff experience. You don't have to rely on these rookies to produce. If you produce and you get along, thank you. If you don't, we'll give you time. You'll get opportunities. And if you don't work out, we're going to be a lottery team anyway in the future once we move on. So there's certain teams, I think, at the top of this draft that they really can't lose, and they can just chuck up their hands to say, hey, what else were we supposed to do? I think the Hawks are kind of in that situation. That's why I like the boomer bust with the Trae Young. That's why I have Michael Porter going to Sacramento. Number 2. Okay. You got look, Michael Porter is the one guy in this draft, when healthy, is going to get you 20. You don't have to question it. Now, in terms of the shot selection, you get better. Like, I think whenever we have these drafts, we are projecting that these guys are going to stay the same 5 years from now. No. Once you get in the NBA system, I'm not saying that you're going to, take the worst shots and all of a sudden you take the best shots, because, again, it goes down to situation, head coaching, situations, this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, there's certain aspects that just naturally get better because you're playing at the level that you're playing at in the NBA. His shot selection will get better. Can we not all agree here that Russell Westbrook shot selection has been better. I'm not saying it's the best it can possibly be, but he has improved. Everybody improves in certain ways, and I think that's one of those things that you just give him. You know what I'm saying? How far it goes, we don't know. We can't project that, but we have to give him the fact that that will get better.
I think I feel you, though. Also, before we go, at the time of this recording, ESPN just came out saying that the Grizzlies expect interest in the number 4 pick, and they're talking to 7 teams that include
who? Wait, say that one more time, Q.
Oh, the Grizzlies expect interest in the number 4 pick, and they're talking to 7 teams right now: Dallas Mavericks, Orlando Magic, Chicago Bulls, the Knicks, Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics, Clippers. Clippers, I expect them, and this is me talking. The Clippers, if they want to move up to number 4, I expect it's for Porter or Bagley. Boston, that's Bamba all day.
Oh yeah, all day. That's the only guy.
Denver, I think it's Porter. Knicks, I think it's Porter or Bamba
or Young.
Like both.
I think Young is in play for the Knicks. Because
sure.
You got to remember that's a box office place. That's box office, and you already got Kristaps.
The Garden, yeah. Bulls, who you all think that's for? If the Bulls want to move up, what, three spots? Is that for Trey, or are they going to stay there? Or
I think if they're moving up, they're either eyeing Bamba or Trae Young.
Okay. Orlando Magic, they moving up 2 spots potentially. I think that's
Trae Young.
That could be for Luka. That could be for anybody.
Yeah, I think Michael Porter, Trae Young, and Luka if Orlando's trying to move up.
And then Dallas, I think Dallas wants Luka Doncic all day.
I think they want Luka, Marvin, or Bamba.
For real.
I think they want one of those 3.
This is just as a recording. But the thing is, though, that the only stipulation, this is from ESPN, the only stipulation on trading, they will have to take on Chandler Parsons' contract. They're trying to get out from under that bad contract. I think it's 2 more years, $40 million for Chandler Parsons. That's the only steep thing about trading up for this number 4 pick. But the thing is, though, is that I think the team that could take that on and not really care about it is a team like the Clippers, because I trust Jerry West to be able to get out from under Chandler Parsons and flip that again. Boston, same thing. But I think teams like New York, teams like Chicago, and teams like Orlando should be wary about putting money up for Chandler Parsons, because they don't really have the savviest of GMs there right now.
And they'll be in play for a star next year, right? 2019, the Knicks.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they have a max contract spotted, so they don't want to get stuff like that.
Exactly, and they want guys like Klay Thompson. I think AD is a free agent next year, right? I think AD is one. So they want to be able to make runs at guys. So if Chandler Parsons' contract is like it's non-negotiable for Memphis, I don't expect many teams besides probably Clippers to trade up.
All right, well, man, tomorrow is going to be crazy.
It is.
I'm definitely have because we're going to be at the thing.
Yeah. You know what we didn't really talk about or didn't get too much into are the trades that are going to happen tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And big time players, obviously moving places. So I think that'll be too hard to kind of project because, I know there's going to be a lot of movement tomorrow. I know that for a fact.
Well, throw some names out there before we go. Like, who do you think? Just name some guys that you think could be on the move.
Obviously, Jaylen Brown. If the Celtics are trying to move up, Jaylen Brown has to be part of that situation. Yeah, I think.
Do you think Dame could be on the trade block? Dame or CJ? Because I heard that Portland wants to get some picks, and I think they've kind of resigned themselves to the fact that in today's NBA, you can't win a championship when your 2 best players only are your point guard and your shooting guard. You have to have a wing or a big man.
Yeah. Again.
And I think that for the last year or so, they've been tussling with the fact of we really aren't able to get much movement if we have these two max point guard and shooting guard guys. I think that's also what Washington's trying to do too.
Now, with Portland's situation, it's not the fact that they're paying Dame and CJ. It's the fact that, Jokic has a contract now. Miles Turner Evan Turner makes a decent amount of money. They're already over the luxury tax. You know what I'm saying? So that's a problem because you got your two guys, Jokic, or Nurkic. I always get those two guys confused, but their big man, he's not consistent enough. So they don't really have a third guy. So they're in a quandary right now. So if they're gonna move on from one of those guys, I feel it. I understand it. I always say it on this show, like it's not personal, it's business. And also I think Kemba Walker could be on the move.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him.
Yeah, I definitely think he could be on the move. Now, okay, so another hypothetical. If he goes to Cleveland, is that enough for LeBron to stay?
Nah, man. LeBron needs more than that. He needs a wing or a big guy that's like dominant.
I don't know. He gets a Kyrie Irving light. And
here's the thing. I would say that
make stuff work. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kemba he's not Kyrie, but if Kyrie had a chink in his offensive game, then you're Kemba. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're talking about off the dribble shooting, you're talking catch and shooting, you're talking clutch. And I just think Kemba's like a slight step below Kyrie in all of those things. But we know that Kemba can get off, and he's not scared of nobody. And I like for LeBron to play with guys like that. And I think that with Kemba will give up more of his game to LeBron than Kyrie was willing to. Mm-hmm. So I think that Kemba as a fit would fit overall better with LeBron because he'll be willing to play more off LeBron versus like, nah, I'm a guy too, like the whole Kobe Shaq complex.
Yeah, and also
LeBron. All he needed was a guy that could get a bucket for him last year. Man, there was not really a guy that would consistently get a bucket. Kemba's not like this efficiency god, but he can get more buckets than George Hill can. He probably wouldn't have missed that free throw either. So.
Yeah, Kemba can go cold at times, but I mean the guy averaged over 20,
exactly
with ease.
And when the lights are bright, he step up.
Mm-hmm.
He's since UConn, we've seen it in the Garden. We see the step back, the snatch back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I really like that. But is that enough though?
I think it'd have been enough for him to think about it. The way he said it's a lifestyle choice for him.
And I get that too. You know where I think Cleveland messed up? What's going to hurt them is that they can make a move for Kemba, but those contracts of Tristan and JR and all of those other guys, not named Kevin Love, it's really going to stranglehold them because I don't think Kemba's enough. But if they were able to pull off another move in addition to getting Kemba, then Brian got to look at the situation like, wait, hold on now.
Right.
I got Kemba, I got another guy, and I got Kevin Love, and I could come back and sign the max. I might, have to hold down the fort in Cleveland.
Yeah, you may decide to just say, hey, again, you're going to wait, see what Paul George or Kawhi do. What if they don't go to L.A.? Mm-hmm. So then you'll be like, all right, well, 2019, L.A. may just sit this one out. And we'll just say, all right, we'll see you guys next year when you guys are free agents. Mm-hmm. So LeBron will be like, all right, cool, I'll re-up for one more year.
1+1.
And then I'll holler at you guys next year. If they got Kemba Walker.
Yep. And somebody else.
Yeah. So I can see them trying to get out of Tristan or J.R. Smith at some point, in the offseason.
Well, here's the thing, right? So, like, just me thinking of the Hornets roster and just the monies that have to be moved and everything, right? And obviously, I think Cleveland at this point they're ready and willing to get out from Tristan and JR. So taking back, let's say a Nick Batum.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring back Nick Batum and Kemba, right? Like I'm starting to like that. Because Batum, he's a spot up shooter. He's long and rangy. He's a very Trevor Ariza-esque kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? I like that, man. I really like that.
Yeah, he doesn't need the ball to be effective.
Nope.
Yep. So he'll be a good piece. He could be their Draymond.
I don't know. He'll be their Ariza.
Oh, there Ariza. Okay.
you know, one name I think could be on the move though. That I think a lot of people could come see. Well, I think some people could see it, but Wiggins.
Yeah,
I think
he could be in play too.
He could be on the move, man. I think he could be on the move because I just don't think it's going to work. Jimmy Butler and him,
it's not
the clash heads. He didn't really like his work ethic. I think he takes away from Towns' touches. I think he doesn't make Towns a better player. And I think that a team, I'll tell you this, I think that Toronto could make a move. And if I was GM of Minnesota, I would be looking at Toronto for something for like a Wiggins. Because they have to reset something, man. They cannot go into next season with DeRozan and Lowry again.
But we already know that trades are two teams, not just one team. So we can't look at this one-sided. What is Minnesota taking back? Because I ain't taking back Ibaka. I'm not taking back who is it? Do they have Tucker or TJ Warren? They got one of those guys.
No, it's not Warren. It's not Tucker. They had Tucker the year before.
Who's their tough guy on the perimeter?
They have some good pieces that I would take if I was. Thing is, though, is that I don't know if they'll have the space. I think it would have to be like for a Lowry if they trade a Wiggins because they're two max contracts. I think Wiggins he just got cashed out, right?
Yeah, he did.
Lowry just got cashed out. So it had to be like a 1-for-1 deal.
But how does that work for Toronto? Because now you're losing an all-star point guard. As much as I don't necessarily like him, and I think he's a great regular season point guard, but in the playoffs we just have not seen him perform. So like how do you replace that? You know what I'm saying? Maybe they could work out a 3-team deal and try to get Dennis Schroeder up there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And move on from Kyle Lowry. But then from Minnesota's perspective, I already have Jeff Teague. And is Kyle Lowry that much more of an improvement? Is he an all-star point guard in the West? I doubt it. So I just from two teams, I don't see how or why that would work. From Toronto's perspective, of course, you're bringing home Maple Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you want to make that move for Wiggins, but from Minnesota's perspective, obviously they don't have assets. They don't have any draft picks. They don't have any young talent that they would want. Who's their light-skinned backup point guard?
Van Fleet.
Okay, fine. You throw Van Fleet in there too, but come on, man. Like for Wiggins, nah. I don't see it.
And they didn't have
I think it also depends on how much you value a Wiggins type, though, at the end of the day. But I can see what you're saying. I think in Minnesota, I think him and Tibbs are butting heads, man. I think he screamed at him a couple too many times, and now Wiggins is kind of like, man, F this, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think Thibodeau is rubbing and bumping heads in Minnesota too dang much. And I think that I understand being a tough coach, but at the same time, you have to be able to be a player's coach as well, especially in today's NBA. Like I said earlier, these kids that come up through the AAU and training and all of this, they know each other. They're exposed to more at a younger age, and they feel more entitled at a younger age. So what do you think happens once they get a max contract? I'm not saying that you have to treat them like kids, because now you're a grown man professional now, but at the end of the day, like, Thibodeau can't be as abrasive anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like even Popovich, he can't be Tim Duncan abrasive anymore. These newer generation guys, they're not Kobe, they're not Paul Pierce, they're not KG.
Right.
They're not that. And you have to be able to talk to them and relate to them. That's the reason why the Mark Jacksons of the world can get what he got out of Golden State and turn the corner with that franchise. You know what I'm saying? That's why Fizdale, you know what I'm saying? Another younger type of coach that can relate to these guys. You know what I'm saying? So
like Brett Brown.
You know what I'm saying? So if you can't do that, I don't know how much success you can have in this NBA. So I think Thibodeau got to reevaluate his strategy, because think about it. He is alienating and making his two best young players feel some type of way that are supposed to be the future of your franchise. So are you looking to trade him already? And this is only Thibodeau's second year. I just don't know if that marriage is truly going to work out. I know I was a fan of it at the beginning, but just seeing how they are performing and what type of dissension is happening in that locker room. Like it's not good. It's not what you want going into the free agency period. It's not what you want going into the draft. So the brain trust has to really make some tough decisions because you can't go into next season like this.
And you would have thought he would have learned from
Chicago.
Yeah, but apparently he didn't.
I just knew, I knew as soon as Fibbs was washed when I saw Derrick Rose get 13 straight points in a playoff game as their best player for a 6-minute stretch. I was like, Fibbs, Towns is on the court and he got 2 touches.
Yep.
Derrick Rose has the most points in this whole stretch, and you haven't even called. You have to get Cat the ball. Yep. I knew, and I knew as soon as Towns went to the bench and didn't talk to anybody, I knew that this marriage is not going to work out, man. They have to go get a young guy. Like, they should have got Fizdale. I think Fizdale on the Wolves would have been a fantastic thing. Budenholzer as well. But I think that Minnesota is going to want to make a trade because I think Jamal Crawford opted out.
Yep.
And I don't see
he didn't like his role.
Nope.
Having many more years in the NBA outside of that contract. I think he has one more year. I think they got a 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. But they have to get another guy. In my opinion, what they should have did was they probably should have traded Wiggins for Butler and kept Levine because Levine looked like he was the better player out of those two. And perhaps that's just a product of Tibbs screaming at Wiggins too much. But he just, on defense, he hasn't panned out to be that 3-and-D guy that he was. He has very wonky mechanics. I don't know.
I put it to you like this. Thibodeau is going to be in very hot water next season, especially if they make a splashy draft day or off-season move, including one or all of their young and up-and-coming players. If they slide their way out of playoff contention early in the season, it's going to be a wrap. Now, I'll be surprised if they let him finish it out the season. If that happens, it's still going to be – they're not going to bring him back. I think Thibodeau, he has to outdo what he did this year. And I think, they finished, like 4th or 3rd?
Yeah, but Jimmy Butler got hurt.
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, I feel that, and they did improve. But at the end of the day, the guy at the helm should have had a better first round.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like they should have just had a better first round. And if they don't improve, or if they start off the gate extremely slow, it's a wrap for Thibs.
You think he's gone by Christmas, or are you thinking All-Star?
If they are 10,
let's say there's 6 games below 500 at Christmas,
he has a job. 10 or less, I think he has a
10.
job. It's over 10, he don't have no job.
Okay.
He can't be 10 games plus under 500. He can't be. Not with that roster. And especially if he made moves and they don't pan out. It's basically what happened to Stan Van Gundy.
Mm-hmm.
He made moves, and I get it. It wasn't working. With the roster he had, it wasn't working. He tried to pull off a splashy move, got Blake, didn't get him into the playoffs. I think he would have bought himself hot seat time if he would have made the playoffs. The playoffs, I think he would have saved his job. He would have had another offseason. Obviously, they would have tried to add another piece, and we'll see what happens. He would have started slow. He's gone too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Detroit got any moves in them? Because I know that they got Blake and Andre, but outside of that, Reggie Jackson, that's not a championship game, core right there. I think you have to. I think you might dangle a guy like Stanley Johnson out there, man, and see what you can get for him. I think that he hasn't put it together. He's been kind of here and there. Also, another team, people, Miami, they have a bunch of glue guys, and I think that they could move some of those contracts to get into the top 20 again, or maybe the top 15 to get a guy that they really like. Because, guys like Winslow and guys like Richardson, who I think he was the Defensive Player of the Year candidate this year, those type of guys, man, I think that if you value them enough to keep them, you keep them, obviously. But if you have a guy that you really like, or you have an established star that you want really bad, plus your pick, I think that Miami could make some moves to get another guy. Plus, they also have to get out from under Hassan Whiteside's contract.
Yeah, Miami's very interesting. I don't think that there's anybody. They can't get high enough to get anybody that is going to move the needle any which way for them. So I think that, Miami has to understand that they're going to be in the type of rebuilding mode that you got to draft guys. I think, as much as I love D-Wade, D-Wade's going to have to walk unless he just wants to retire there. But he just has to understand he's going to play on a bad team. I think you move Goran Dragic. I think you start to look at accumulating as many draft picks for the future because this offseason they're not players in any of the big time free agents. You got to move on from Whiteside. So I think they really have to look at rebuilding in the draft in the upcoming futures and also shedding some salary to possibly be in the next year's free agency market, maybe trying to attract somebody then. In addition to drafting somebody as well. So I think that's the route Miami needs to go in. Stop being in playoff purgatory because you're not contending. You got to get rid of the guys that put you in playoff contention. And I think that's Dragic. And I think that's Whiteside. And I think that's, they just got Kelly on there. They can keep him. But they definitely got to get rid of those two guys.
We gonna see, man, because draft night is gonna be a lot of moves being made, and there's so many weird teams in the top 5 that consistently make bad decisions. So I would not be surprised if we see tomorrow that Sacramento has traded the pick for Kawhi, who we know is not gonna re-sign there. I would not be surprised if Memphis does it. We know he would not re-sign there. But there's so many teams that could make weird moves. And those are all the scenarios that I have because those are the 3 teams I think could make a run for him. Other than that, I don't have anything else, guys.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, everybody, for listening. Let us know, leave your comments, if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube in the comment section on YouTube and SoundCloud as well. So we'll catch you guys next time. We out. Peace.